What's up, guys? Doing a guide on when to heal versus when to damage as Anna. These aren't exactly like hard and fast rules. Obviously, it depends on you as a player, and it also depends on your team, or the context is really important. Like if you're just playing matchmaking, it's definitely different from playing on a team. So at the end of the day, you kind of have to figure out what you want to do and the playstyle you want to have as an Anna. But I do think at the end of this video, it'll help you decide better. So I did get a lot of comments on, like especially my highlights, wondering why I was doing more damage than healing in the clips. And half the time the answer is just it's a highlight. So obviously, I picked the highlights where I'm killing things, where I'm making plays, as opposed to healing someone else that's making plays. For some people, you know, it would be more interesting to watch me healing or supporting someone that's making plays. But for me personally, the highlights that I enjoy are the highlights where I'm making plays. So, you know, that's really all there is to it. But I'll just make an analogy on, with these training bots. Like let's say that I want that training bot to die. What would be more efficient? Me just sitting here healing and waiting for this friendly bot to kill the other bot? Or would it be more efficient for me to do damage like this and then make sure that he's topped off and doesn't die? So obviously it's not exactly the same thing as a pro game or even a matchmaking, um, but the point still stands. It's it's really is it's the concept that you should be focused on. You just have to assess the situation. Every situation is different. Would I be making more impact doing damage here, or would I be making more impact healing? And that's just something that takes a lot of practice and experience to figure out. And at the end of the day, even if you have the right philosophy on it, you could still potentially let someone die just because of, the situation or whatever. And for the most part, that's on you, and you have to find a balance on whether or not damaging is better. It also depends on the players you have around you. Like, if you have players that are self-sufficient or, like, for example, I trust IDDQD or Seagull to take a lot less damage than I would um, a solo queue player. So if I'm given that freedom and they're putting out a lot of pressure, then I have a lot of freedom to do damage, and then obviously make sure that they're topped off when I get the chance. And in general, I kind of do understand why a lot of matchmaking players are conditioned to think it's weird that an Ana is being so aggressive because one, a lot of people probably get have gotten mad at them for doing damage, which I'll touch on later. But another thing is, in matchmaking, if you don't have Seagull on your team or you don't have IDDQD or whoever, they're probably going to be taking more damage and it's probably going to be putting more pressure on you to heal. So whether or not it was correct for you to heal or not, that's a different question, but I can totally see why you would spend more time healing in matchmaking versus like a pro team where your DPS players are pro and know how to stay alive better. So I'll just start with when you should be doing damage. Obviously, I can't really outline every situation ever that you should just be doing damage because there's so many different situations in this game, so many different variables that come into play. But for the most part, um, I'll just go over some of the fundamentals of it, like pre-push. Right before a push, right before anything ever happens, obviously, if people are taking chip damage, you want to keep them topped off. For the most part, your Lucio is really good for that, but maybe he can't keep up with the chip damage or he's about to speed boost in, whatever. You need to make sure people are topped off before the engage even happens or as you're making the approach. Otherwise, you're just going to be behind on healing and you're just not going to be able to do any damage at all. If you get behind on healing at all, you're probably going to be spending the entire fight healing. But if you, because it snowballs. But if you start off the fight with everyone at full health and then you initiate with a lot of pressure by doing damage yourself and your teammates getting a good engage, then they're going to be behind on healing and you can just apply even more pressure and snowball the fight yourself. So another situation where you should be doing damage is, let's say you have a soldier that has self-heal, Roadhog has self-heal, and you're in a high ground position. Well, if my soldier is out of line of sight or my Roadhog's out of line of sight and I would have to leave high ground just to heal them, then it's obviously better for them to either go grab a health pack or self heal. And that applies to heroes that don't even have self heal as well. There's a lot of times where I see a lower level Ana just chase a player to heal them when that low health player could have just left and got a health pack that was nearby. It was probably more efficient for them to get a health pack, or if they were a soldier or a roadhog, to self heal than the Ana giving up their high ground position uh, just to heal them. And maybe if the Ana stayed high ground, they could have gotten a pick on someone, or maybe someone else like Reinhardt needed heals. But basically, a lot of people don't take into account that there's a lot of other ways to be topped off or, regroup in the fight or reheal. And it's not always just on the healers. So again, just to reiterate, there are definitely times where you should be assessing the situation and figuring out, is it more efficient for me or more valuable for me to be doing damage or healing? And if someone's out of line of sight and you have to really go out of your way to heal them, I feel like a lot of the time they should just be finding a way to get healed up there on their own way, either by getting in your line of sight themselves or getting a health pack or self-healing if they're soldier or roadhog. And in that case, in the meantime, you could be doing damage so that you're always constantly doing something. Another time to be really aggressive or be doing damage as Ana is when you have a play that requires shield break. So let's say your Reinhardt has Earth Shatter or your McCree has Deadeye or just anything where you want to break the enemy Rein shield or a Winston bubble or whatever. Um, Typically you want uh, everyone on the team, even supports, shooting shields to shield break as fast as possible and make so that you could proceed and move forward with whatever play you're about to make. Now I'll just go over when you should be healing or focused on healing. The first thing that comes to mind is if you have high value ults that you're using, and whoever is using those high value ults should be getting healed, and you should make sure that they're still alive. Or like if your Zarya has high charge, like if he's full charge Zarya, then you want to make sure he doesn't die ever. And it's definitely going to be more valuable for him to be doing damage than it is for you to be doing damage and letting him die, not to state the obvious. And then back to the, high value ults. If you nano boost a Reinhardt or you nano boost the soldier or anything like that, then obviously you want to keep them up because they're the focal point of the push. They're going to be doing the damage, and you just need to make sure that they stay alive. And if they stay alive, you'll probably win the push. And if they die, then you just threw a high value ult away for no reason. Another thing to take into account is, honestly, if you're just self-aware of your limitations, are you capable of being a carry Ana? Are your mechanics up to par? Um, Another thing is your team willing to support you in that role, or do you have carry players that will just have way more impact than you as a carry player? Like a good example is Ryu Jae-hong. He might be one of the best players in the world, and he happens to play Ana. So a lot of his team, like Toby, for example, their Lucio player, he focuses on pocketing Ryu Jae-hong and making sure that he stays alive, and he plays really aggressive because of it. He gets a lot of support because of how good he is, and they make sure to focus on making him one of the star players of the team. And if you're not that type of player, or if your team is not that type of team that would, put you in that position, then maybe you focus more on positioning, like getting high ground and free farm healing, and just focusing on not dying and applying pressure in other ways. So yeah, just to reiterate, if you reflect on like your mechanics and the play style that fits you best, and you're not like that Ryu Jae-hong or like the star player, then you should be just focusing on heals, and you should be focusing on position. Another thing I wanted to cover on this topic about, like, when to damage and when to heal is teammates in matchmaking. So one of the comments on one of my videos was, whenever I try to do the things you're doing, my teammates just get mad at me for doing damage over heals. Um, I'm not in your games. I don't know if they're right or wrong. Like, maybe they're right. Maybe you are focusing too much on damage. You can't really compare what you're doing to me because, again, you're not in my games either. You're just seeing highlights. You don't know when I'm choosing to damage and when I'm choosing to heal. But regardless, I really don't think that you should change your entire playstyle based on someone getting salty in matchmaking. I've had Smurfs in lower levels while climbing where, or even not even just lower levels, like even GM level, where someone just goes off and dies on their own. They're just never in sync with the team. They were never in line of sight of me, and they were just really, really unaware of of the flow of the game and just feeding uncontrollably. Like, then they die, and they inspect, they see me just shooting at people, and they get really mad, and they complain that I'm just doing too much damage. Like, point being is, that guy just died and he's just salty. He wants to blame something. He can't fathom that it's his fault. And that could be the case for you. Like I said before, maybe the person raging on you is right, but um on the contrary, like maybe they're just wrong and they're just salty and they want to blame something for their death. So you really never know, and while you do want to make sure that you take all criticism and, apply them to your practice, you you don't want to brush it off. At the same time, matchmaking players aren't the most reliable people to learn from. At the end of the day, you need to figure out yourself. As long as you're critical of your own play, and you try to have like an unbiased view of your own play, then you should just be focused more on your own analysis, um, while still obviously like trying to understand their perspective. And if you try to understand their perspective and you come to the conclusion that they're probably just salty, which is probably most of the time, then keep doing damage if you think that that's bringing more value to the team. Basically, just to reiterate, don't change your entire playstyle just because someone in matchmaking got mad. There's a lot of things to take into account. And just to close it off, um, and this is probably just to reiterate some of the points I already made, but at the end of the day, damaging versus healing, it depends on your playstyle, it depends on your team or the context. Maybe you're not on a team, maybe you're just playing matchmaking and your goal is to get the highest SR possible. Um, well, if that's your goal and you're a really, really, you know, good player mechanically, then maybe you find a balance where you focus a lot on damaging versus healing. If you're on a team where you have really good carry players, like you have an IDDQD, you have a Seagull, well, maybe the balance is you focus on keeping them at all times and just damaging when they're topped off, or damaging when, they're not in danger. Then, like I said, at the end of the day, it's different for everyone, and it's really up to you to find a balance. But hopefully, with what I outlined, like you can find that balance, that makes most sense for you or and whatever context of the game you're playing in, like whether it's in a team or just matchmaking. Hopefully this helped. Thank you for watching.